And let's start with the Tottenham against Southampton match preview, 7:45 kickoff, a game which I'm very much looking forward to. There's a good feeling around Spurs right now. There really is. And I think if we can kind of take that good feeling into this game, we should be coming away with 3 points. When you're looking at the past performances, past games between Tottenham and Southampton, like I said before, it's a game that throws up a lot of goals. At home, we usually do win the game, so I'm quite confident that we can take all 3 points. But we've got to be wary of Southampton. I mean, you were mentioning before how Southampton have one way of playing, and that's attack, attack, attack. But that's not really what they did earlier on against us this season.
Well, they did, but they went down to 10 men, and once that happened,
that's true.
They shot.
True.
They actually dominated us for
in the first half. I mean, I think they did play a good attacking football, but I don't think it was like that gung-ho approach which they usually take.
No, I think for things with the Southampton, they definitely like to attack. They're a very, very offensive team, but when they need to defend, Hasenhuttl has shown that they can. As I've said before, 2 draws against City this season. You don't get 2 draws against City unless you're a team that's capable of defending. And obviously, when they went down to 10 men against Spurs, they obviously defended really resolutely. I know they got lucky with a few VAR decisions, which probably should have gone our way, but they did defend very resolutely. And I think they've probably learned a lot of lessons from Hasenhutl's time in charge, because he's been there quite a while now, maybe 3 or 4 years. And there were times where they went down to 10 men. I think they had 2 9-0 defeats, didn't they? One to Leicester and one to Man United, I think, didn't they? So I think maybe they've learned from that.
Was it Man United or Man City?
I think Man United. They lost 9-0 to Man United. And because I think they were down to 9 men in that game. And I think they've learned a lot of lessons from those kind of games. And maybe they haven't been as attacking as they used to be, but they still have that in them, and they still set up in that 4-4-2-2-2 formation. And when they do get into full flight, they can be very difficult to stop with 2 central strikers who like to run in behind, who have a bit of pace, flying fullbacks, of usually very, very quick wingers as well on the flanks. So they can be difficult to play with. But on the flip side, if you are smart against them and you make sure that you're stopping them from building up any momentum and you're stopping them playing football, you match their intensity, they leave a lot of gaps going the other way. And if you can take the lead against them and force them out, then all of a sudden they can actually be pretty easy to play against, because there's so many gaps to exploit if you get it right. So it's all about Tottenham coming out the game in the right way. If we start the game like we did against Brighton, same intensity, same aggression, we'll be fine. I'm sure we'll be okay. But if we allow Southampton to get in the game, especially if we allow Ward-Prowse to get in the game, he's the one obviously who's been brilliant for them this season. If you give him set pieces, if you allow him time and space on the ball, then they can really hurt you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And if we do, we need to come out the blocks quickly tomorrow. And if we can get that early goal, I got a feeling the floodgates could open tomorrow night, and we could be on for quite a convincing win. When you're looking at the form of the two sides, obviously Spurs a bit of an uptick of form recently. Southampton, I mean, they're very much a Jekyll and Hyde side when you're comparing them home and away. At home, they're a very good side and a tough side to beat, but away, they're very much a different side. Only 1 win in their last 6 away games, and that was against West Ham, funnily enough, in a 3-2 win. They've lost to Norwich away from home this season. I mean, they've lost a lot of games away from home, and I think that them coming to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we have to be in the ascendancy. We have to be on the front foot, and we have to hit them early. And if we do, it should be convincing, shouldn't it?
Yeah. I hope we hit them early, because I think they showed when they drew 0-0 to Man City at the Etihad early in the season, that if you don't get that early goal and you allow them to settle, it can all of a sudden become very difficult. When they did draw their last game, actually, it was at home to City, and they drew 1-1. And funnily enough, it was Salisu who was man of the match, and he was absolutely brilliant.
And he was brilliant against us in the first game at the St Mary's.
No, but he got sent off.
Salisu?
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
on
sorry, I was thinking of that Man City game.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking of that Man City game.
I'm saying that's what I was about to say, because against us, he was actually pretty rash, and he had got himself sent off right at the end of the half. And maybe he's learned from those moments. And against City, I thought he was absolutely brilliant, and he was like man of the match.
A week or two later, that game, and I remember watching that game, and I was like, wow, this guy's really improved. That's the game I was thinking about.
Yeah, so if we could get an early goal or a goal in the first half, things can come a lot simpler. But with Southampton, the first 30 minutes, usually they definitely like to come out of the blocks. They like to go for an early goal. That's how Hassan Hutel likes to play. And unfortunately, when we played them at St Mary's, it was actually quite similar. Like for the first half an hour or so, they came flying out of the blocks. We tried to ride the storm, but unfortunately we conceded. And then we did go back in the game. Obviously, we got a penalty, we scored. But once they went down to 10 men, they went back in their shape, and it was very difficult to break them down. Although, as I say, we did a couple of times, but they got lucky with VAR decisions. But if you can ride out the storm and make sure you don't concede in those opening 30 minutes, then once you are taking the ascendancy, you should be like, there's so many gaps they leave. You should be able to win the game, but they're tricky. They can be tricky opposition.
You know what a perfect example of that is when they played Arsenal, right?
Yeah,
they played Arsenal at the Emirates. When they played Arsenal at the Emirates, first 10, 15 minutes, they were all over them, battering their goal, couldn't find that goal. And then as soon as Arsenal took the lead, that was it. It was pretty much game over that game. So I think that's a very important example of what Southampton are going to bring. They're going to try and kind of smother us in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes. And if they don't get that goal, it can get quite dangerous for them. But if they do get that goal, we're in for a game.
But it's interesting, against Southampton, we in the last game we played a 3-5-2. We played Son and Kane up front. I think we played a midfield three of Dele, Winks, and Højbjerg. And we had Lucas on the bench. And I think Lucas came on at half time when they were down to 10 men. So it'll be interesting to see if Conte thought that was a tactical plan for that specific game, or maybe it was because of injuries he played that, or whatever. But it'll be interesting to see what he does in tomorrow, if he thinks 3-5-2 is the best way to combat this team with two in the centre. Because do you go with that two midfield in the centre against them and just match them up, and then you have those three players up front who can really hurt Southampton's back four? Or do you try and dominate the central midfielder by putting three in there, and maybe you sacrifice a bit up front? It's interesting because last year with Mourinho in charge, we put the two up front, didn't we, with Son and Kane? It was devastating. But against them at St Mary's earlier this season, it was weird because it was actually Kane and Son. It would have worked if I remember it was 2 or 3 moments where if Kane actually does the right pass, he would put Son in, but he got it wrong 2 or 3 times, and then and then once the second half happened, that space wasn't there, and because they were down to 10 men, so we were forced to change it.
And obviously we had that goal disallowed, didn't we?
Exactly. So I wonder if he still thinks 3-5-2 might be the best thing in this game, or do you just stick with the 3-4-3 that we're playing?
I think he's gonna set up the same way as we did against Brighton. I got a feeling it could be very, very much a similar team. Potentially one of the only change. Well, we'll get into it in the predicted lineup, but I was thinking one of the only changes could have been Bentancur for Winks, but. When you're looking at the Southampton team, like you say, it's like a 4-2-2, 4-4-2 kind of system. The players that they have out, McCarthy, Smallbone, Teller, Vojinovic and Broha, which is probably their big miss, is their striker Broha, because I've been quite impressed with him since he's broke into the team. Obviously a player on loan from Chelsea. He's tall, he's strong, he's quick, knows where the back of the net is. And he's a player that's kind of burst onto the scene this season, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's a teenager, I think 19 years of age, 18, 19, and he's really impressed me as well with his direct style, running in behind, decent finishing as well. So he's going to be a big miss. Obviously, they've had Adam Armstrong, who had a good start to life at Southampton, but hasn't quite gone as he had hoped. The goals have dried up quite dramatically. Shea Adams, who I've been a big fan of, hasn't had the season he would expect, really. Only 4 goals, which is disappointing for him, and a lot of the time he's also been left out. So I think Broha will be a big miss, but with Armstrong and Adams up front, they still have pace, and I think Shea Adams, for me, actually is quite a good passer as well. So there's something to watch out for, but maybe their biggest threat might be from set pieces.
Yeah. So Obviously, James Ward-Prowse is the one that's dangerous from set pieces there. If you bring up the one-to-watch graphic, you'll see he's their top goal scorer, 6 goals, 5 assists. He's their star man, really. What
Great
a goal
season.
he scored the other week. That free kick. Who was it against that free kick?
Wolves.
What a free kick that was. I mean, bloody hell, he really picked that one out. Obviously scored a really good goal against us earlier on in the season as well. So he's definitely one we need to look out for. I mean, we need to be very wary of giving out set pieces on the edge of our box tomorrow night, that's for sure. So
Definitely.
that's a message for Christian Romero. Be wary tomorrow night. Because,
Him and Højbjerg.
Yeah, all of them, to be honest, and Bentancur, to be honest, all of them can give away some free kicks. So that's a message to them. But another player in Nathan Redmond, who, look, he blows hot and cold, Nathan Redmond, a lot of the time, but he does get quite a few assists under his belt, as you can see on screen. 6 assists and 2 goals this season.
That surprised me. I didn't realise he was having a decent season, Redmond.
But the thing is with Redmond, like, he's a pace merchant. He's got a lot of pace about him, but he does lack quality quite a lot of the time.
Yeah, but 6 assists is nothing to be sniffed at this stage of the season,
Yeah,
you know? That's pretty decent. So yeah, I mean, look, and he is, you're right, he is pace and trickery, and he can get undone. But he actually, I remember for, not necessarily for Southampton, but I can't remember who he played for before. Was it Norwich or Birmingham or something? He used to score quite a few goals from outside the box. He used to sort of whip them in quite a lot. So that's something definitely to watch out for. But Stuart Armstrong, for me, is a player I quite like. I think he's pretty decent as a versatile midfielder who can play on the wing, can play in the centre. He's got a pretty decent finish on him. He's like he's a bit like He's a bit like Thomas Muller in a way that, like, he's very deceptive in what he's good at. He's like, no, he's not amazing at a lot of things, or like he's not outstanding in a lot of things, but he's actually pretty good at, like, he's got half decent pace, he's got pretty good finish, he's got pretty good dribbling, decent passing, and he's very versatile. So he's one definitely that to watch out for. And I don't know if you saw his goal on the weekend. Unbelievable finish against Coventry.
No, I missed that.
Oh, that's one you have to watch. That brilliant goal. One of the most satisfying goals you'll see this season, I think.
Interesting. A couple more players I want to talk about. Tino Livramento. He's another one that's on loan this season, and I think he's having a sensational season. A young player coming through the ranks. And apart from him, you've got Kyle Walker-Peters as well, who we'll know very well. Scored his first professional goal the other week. And I think he as well is having a really good season. And if he's at Spurs playing like that, he probably gets into our team right now.
Definitely. I think Walker-Peters would definitely be getting a lot of game time at Tottenham if he was still here. And he's been great. He scored a great goal. I don't know if you saw it against Man City last time out. What a goal that was from the right-hand side. He's actually been playing left-back for a lot of the season because Livramento has been so good on the right, but I don't know if he's injured or he's been out of the team recently, but Walker-Peters has returned to the right-hand side and he looks a lot better there. And again, he's having a great season, and I think Southampton have done well to get him because I think he's probably worth a decent amount now if they ever wanted to sell him.
Would you reverse the transfer?
I wouldn't reverse the transfer. No, I wouldn't reverse the transfer, but
if you could turn back time, would you just offer more for Højbjerg then?
Probably, and keep Walker-Peters, yeah. But the thing of the whole time was Mourinho wanted a more physical right back, but now with Conte at the helm, he kind of wants someone a bit different. I think Walker-Peters might have been able to work a bit better under Conte. Because I always remember under Pochettino, Walker-Peters, when he ever came into the team, he always did pretty decent.
He always got quite a few assists, didn't he?
And he always got
like 3 assists or something.
I think, it was like Bournemouth. We beat Bournemouth like 5-0 and he got 3 assists or something. And I also remember when we beat Leicester 5-4 on the last day of the season, I think he got like 2 assists in that game as well.
He always played the first game and the last game and never
Obviously, I think Tottenham fans' memories of him are maybe blighted when Ousmane Dembele rinsed him at the Nou Camp, and then that was a big moment, and that sticks out to a lot of Tottenham fans. But I actually think, by and large, when he did play, he was pretty good.
You got to give him a pass for something like that, because he's a young player coming through the academy. He gets thrown in the deep end in this massive game in the Nou Camp.
Did he get on his debut? He got man of the match, didn't he?
Yeah, he got man of the match quite a few times actually for us, but he was never deemed kind of good enough ever by the fan base or the club to really stamp his authority on the team. And
I just wish we kept him instead of bringing Matt Doherty. I mean,
Yeah.
for sure, Matt, if we had him and Emerson challenging for our wing back, I think our squad would look a lot more healthy at the moment. And I think he's playing really well at the moment. I'm happy for him. Yeah, I'm happy for him.
Yeah, and I didn't realise. I'm just looking at him now. He scored it in the weekend against Coventry as well.
He scored the winner, did he, in the extra time?
So he scored 2 games in a row, Kyle Walker-Peters now. Back-to-back goals.
And I think it suits him, Southampton. Very attacking side. They allow their wing-backs to get really high up.
But I think this Conte system would suit him as well.
Yeah, I think right wing-back, he's got pace, and he's actually, he's obviously can track back. I think as well, if you look at him, if you remember that game against... when he was at Tottenham, you think of him as a bit like smaller, a bit scrawny, like easy to push from the ball. If you look at him now, he's a lot more built. He's a lot more physical. He's almost unrecognisable in terms of physically to when he was at Spurs. So I think he's much more suited in to playing at Tottenham now. And maybe
Peters or DJ Spence.
I mean, I haven't seen enough of from what I've seen of DJ Spence. He looks great, but I haven't seen enough of him on a regular basis. So. We know Walker-Peters is Prem proven, but DJ Spence has played against Prem teams, so he also looks great, doesn't he? I must say. But Walker-Peters, it's maybe even one. If Walker-Peters carries on this form, this might have been one where he does get a bigger move to a better team in the near future. Yeah. Whether it be Tottenham re-signing him, I don't know. But
at the end of the day, he's a Tottenham boy through and through. Came through the academy. He's a Tottenham fan.
You've seen it with other teams. United re-signed Pogba and stuff like. You've seen other teams re-sign players. So maybe why not? I reckon he would jump at the chance to rejoin.
Chelsea re-sign Lukaku. It happens.
I reckon Walker-Peters would jump at the chance to re-sign for Tottenham.
I'd agree with that. I mean, if he has a chance to actually, fight for the first team spot, I think he would love to come back. I really do. But we talked about earlier about the ways we can hurt Southampton in terms of getting that early goal. But where are there kind of like frailties in the team, and where should we really be targeting?
I think in the centre they're very much all action. They like to like a bit like Højbjerg when he first came. He was like going 100 miles an hour throughout the game. That's how Southampton like to play with their central midfield players. So if you can because they're so intense, they're so aggressive. If you can beat their press with the central midfield players, because there's only 2 in there. If you kind of play around them and especially players like Romero or even a Bentancur in the centre, if they're pressed and they can beat the press, and all of a sudden there's a lot of spaces on their back 4, they do leave quite a bit of space between their back 4 and midfielders to exploit. So that's definitely an area. If maybe our attackers come a bit deeper, we can definitely exploit centre backs. It happened against Southampton earlier in the season. It happened last season at St Mary's when we battered them 5-2. Their centre-backs like to go with Harry Kane whenever he drops deeper, and that leaves massive holes in the back 4 whenever it happens. And against them, we did exploit it once, which was the penalty, which Son was able to get in behind, and we won the penalty. Unfortunately, a few times the centre backs went with Kane, and he actually picked the wrong pass, or he got the pass a tiny bit wrong and wasn't able to fully exploit it. But that's one element where 100%, if you get the ball to Kane and he holds off their centre backs, they always leave a massive acres of space in behind to exploit. So that's definitely something that either Son or Bergwijn, if he plays, or Lucas can definitely exploit if he uses the pace that he has. So they're definitely areas, and the wing back and the fullbacks as well. If obviously with our 5 at the back, they play 4 at the back. So whenever one fullback is going to be on the left-hand side, if they're crossing it to the back post, there's always going to be a very good chance that there's going to be the wing back can be free at the back post, because if one, say Reguilon has the ball, Walker-Peters goes out to him, then you got Son. Let's say we play the 3-4-3. You got Son, Kane, and Lucas in the centre. They're going to be occupying the 3 defenders, so that will leave either Emerson or Doherty at the wing back always free a lot of the time. So that's definitely a massive place we can exploit them.
And in terms of where they're strong going forward, obviously they're a bit strong on the wings with Redmond. Going to be missing Broker, which is a big miss for them. So in terms of going forward, where can they hurt us?
I think if we're not careful, for sure they've got pace in behind. If I know it'll be 2 attackers up against our 3 defenders, so we should outnumber them. But Adams and Armstrong. Adam Armstrong does have a bit of pace about him, and although he hasn't had the best of seasons, if you allow him a run on goal, he's got a decent finish and he's got decent pace. So definitely that's one way. They do like to get the fullbacks high. They've got very pacey wingers and pacey strikers. They do have a lot of pace in and around the team. So you've got to be very careful that you're matching the runs. You're being very intentional, not allowing them to build up play or momentum, and you're not allowing you're clogging up all the spaces, because they live for those spaces. Southampton, they're very good when they have those spaces to play in. And obviously the very big one is set pieces. Set pieces is massive. Corners, free kicks are with Ward-Prowse around, with big centre-backs like Bednarek around as well to aim at. You've got to be careful of that. And he's got a very good shot on him, even from open play as well. So you've got to be careful of giving away set pieces when Ward-Prowse is around.
All right. That is our match preview. Before we move on, score predictions. What are we going for? Sticking with it?
Yeah, I'm going to go with 3-0.
3-0.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn the lessons hopefully from the game at St Mary's. I think with Romero back as well, we're much stronger defensively than we were, especially with this proactive style. And if we can get an early goal, which I'm backing, I reckon Kane could run riot in this game. So I'm going 3-0.
Yeah, I'm going to go for 2-0. I'm sticking with 2-0. I mean, I kind of expect to go for more, but yeah, I'm just going to go with 2-0 just to be safe, and I'm going to go for Kane and again Kulusevski off the bench. So I want to know your score predictions in the comments section below. That is our match preview.